Hello, welcome to DIY is my happy place. I'm Amy and today we are going to be creating a really fun Pottery Barn dupe. I think you're gonna love it. But first, I wanted to let you know that we are going to be doing a live on November 10th, 7 o'clock Central Time, and it's gonna be fun. You might wanna subscribe, ring that bell to all so that you'll be notified when we put up new content or go live. Now, let's have some fun. Pottery Barn has the cutest Christmas gnome pillow covers. They are just darling, $45 a piece. So I thought to myself, there's a possibility that I can dupe this. So yes, indeed, here comes the dupe tutorial. The first thing I did was stop in at my local Walmart to pick up a few pillows. Ironically enough, the pillows don't come with the pillow covers from Pottery Barn, but I needed to know for sure what size to make my pillow covers. And since I was able to find these, they were 50 cents a piece. I figured they're the right size and they're the right price. These will be perfect. So that's what I'm going to be using. For the pillow covers, I chose to use some Eco fleece that I picked up from Walmart. I got 4 yards because I knew I wanted to make at least 4 pillows. And in fact, this is enough to do much more than 4. Then I also picked up a bundle of fabric. Now you can pick your fabric and have them cut it depending on what you want, but these little bundles that they have already pre-done at Walmart are pretty handy. They cost a little over $6, but all the different colors and they're the right sizes, and I can use these for so many of my gnome projects, not just these pillows. Then I picked up some Ultra Bond. This is a perfect no-sew option, and it runs about $3, so it is definitely worth doing. I loved having no-sew options. So let's talk about how much this is going to cost. I really want to try to stay under the $45 price, and since my pillows cost about $2, the fleece is $16, the fabric is $6.50, and the Ultra Bond is $3. I am well under. Now, I used a few things that I already had on hand, like the pom-poms that I get from the Dollar Tree and the glitter balls, but I'm only using 1 or 2 here or there, not to mention my faux fur. So I'm going to call that $1 because it's such a tiny little fragment of an amount that I'm going to use. So basically, I can make 4 pillows for under $30. Now, when I get started, I go ahead and keep the picture of the dupe that I'm wanting to have it look like close and handy. I drew out a gnome template on a regular piece of paper, and I will have a link below if you'd like to print off a free copy of this template to make your own. The beautiful part about this is you can print it out to be the same size as your piece of paper, or if you want it to be, if you have a bigger pillow and you want it to be bigger, you could print it, just enlarge it on your printer and do 1 template per page, whatever. It really, however you want to do it. After I have my fancy templates all cut out, I went ahead and numbered them for the hat that goes with the gnome body, but it really can be interchangeable, so this isn't imperative. I'm just doing it so it makes it a little easier for you to understand, comprehend what I'm doing here. So basically, I'm going to have 3 gnome bodies and 3 gnome hats, and the rest of it will be done with accessories. So these parts are going to be what the fabric will be. So the first thing I want is this striped hat fabric. So this came in my little bundle from Walmart, and then I'm going to have the bodies be this red plaid. It's not exactly the same, but it's close enough, and I really like it. I think it'll look very nice for little Christmas gnome pillows. Okay, now we get our heat bond, and this is double-sided. So it has the gluey stuff on both sides, but it has paper on one side so that you can glue it down to your fabric and then peel off the paper and then glue it onto your other fabric. I hope that makes sense. It's going to be just kind of sandwiched between the two pieces of fabric to bind them together so you don't have to sew. Now, the one thing that I like to do is I put my templates on with my paper, my bond, and I make sure that I only cut out what I need because I'm going to use this over and over again. This same $3 sheet of heat bond will work for so many projects, not to mention this fabric will work for so many projects. So the one thing that I figured out is if I turn the hat upside down, I can waste less space. And then I'm just going to do it like this. Now, when I cut my fabric that's right next to the paper bond, I use my paper scissors because I don't want to dull my fabric scissors. And the reason why I'm cutting them out before I glue them is I don't want to waste any material or glue. On the instructions of the heat bond, it does say to pre-wash your fabric, but when this is glued down and it's so little, I don't even know that I'll ever actually wash it because it's not going to be a washable pillow cover, so I'm not going to bother with pre-washing the fabric in this particular case. All right, now I'm going to do the same thing with the red. We're just going to put it on the paper so I can see if it's going to fit with my gnome bodies, and then I will cut it out and get it ready. Now, one thing you do want to be aware of, if your bond paper is larger than your fabric, you want to make sure that you turn it upside down on a towel so that none of that glue goes onto your iron. And I'll show you more what I mean by that in a minute, but just keep that in mind. So I'm going to get my towel. Now, the other thing that this says is it doesn't recommend that you do this heat bond process with an ironing board. It works better on a flat table. So I'm just going to use my regular table and put a towel down. Now I'm going to heat bond these together with an iron. So we'll put this together, and like I say, you either need to trim off any pieces that are larger with the heat bond, or you need to turn it upside down and let that glue go ahead and glue onto your towel. Next, we need to get an iron and make sure that it is turned off of mist. You don't want any mist, and you want it at medium heat, not too hot, because it will over melt the glue and then it just doesn't adhere. So we're going to glue that down. You don't have to leave it on too long because it's going to get another glue, or in other words, another chance to be heated to be glued when we glue it onto the other fabric. So this is how you do it. You just move it from place to place. You let it sit there for, I don't know, about 35-40 seconds or so for each step, and then it is ready. Now, you don't want to mess around with it too much until it is completely cooled, so you don't move it all around too much. But we can certainly do our template on it. That's not going to harm anything. So we're going to take a marker and start marking out the wonderful gnome pattern. Now, this does not have to be perfect. In fact, this is a fun project to do with the little ones because gnomes are supposed to be quirky and a little shaped here and a little shaped there. So it just doesn't have to be, some fancy drawing here. So I'm just going to line it out so that I know exactly where we're going to cut. And then I'll do the same thing with my hats. Now these can go either direction. I just want to make sure that I'm keeping them so that the lines will go up and down for the hat so that it looks like our Pottery Barn gnome hat. So again, we're just going to mark, and this can be give or take. If you color outside the lines a little bit, it's just fine. I do like my hats to have a little, like the center one to kind of go up and the two out ones to outside edges to go curving to this side and that side. that just seems to be the pattern that I like to do with my 3 gnomes. Okay, now that we have them all lined up, then it's just a matter of cutting them out and getting them ready to iron on to our pillow cover. Once you've taken the paper off the back, now it's ready to be glued to the other piece of fabric. So let's get out our white fabric, our fleece. But first, I like to lay these out just to make sure that everything is lining up, that nothing needs to be trimmed here or there. One final thing before you iron them on. And once you see, yep, these are lining up just fine, then we're ready for our white fabric. So this is the part that can be a little bit confusing. So I want to just show you, it is a square pillow, so the fabric is going to be a complete square as well, but it needs to be quite a bit bigger than the actual pillow because this is all going to be folded together and not sewn at all. Remember our no-sew. So first thing what we're going to do is we're going to get one of our pillows just to make sure that this is large enough and it's going to fit into the pillow cover. So we got to trim off all the tags. Yes, I own it, so I can take off the tag. Have you ever read one of those where it says, under the penalty of law? I wonder if anybody's ever been penalized for cutting off the tags. Just a little side note, sorry about that. Okay, now we're going to have this at an angle, and I'm going to explain this folding process a little bit more clearly in just a minute. But basically, we just want to make sure that this is going to fit within our pillow standard. So these are going to be turned under, and sure enough, we're going to make it like a little present. We can see that the whole entire thing is going to fit. Our next part, when our gnome is done, is we're going to make it like a present. Okay, I'll show you that in just a minute. Let's go backwards for a minute. Let's say we have our square piece of fabric, and then you have your pillow on top of it, which is much smaller than your white fabric. This is the part that gets a little bit tricky. You need to turn the pillow at an angle because that's the important part. And we need to be able to mark where the pillow is going to be so we know exactly where to iron on the gnomes, because you don't put the gnomes on after it's assembled. Now you can either mark it with a pencil that you can erase later, or maybe even use a safety pin to mark those corners so you know exactly the direction that your gnomes need to go and within what parameters they need to stay in. Okay, so now that we have that figured out, and I've got my little pencil marks on here, and you can't really see them in the video, but I can see them, so I know exactly the direction that my gnomes need to go and within what boundaries they need to be. So then you just start centering them within those little dots that you already previously put on, and you can just start lining them up, getting them ready for the ironing. After you're happy with the gnome spacing, go ahead, you can move them around. Sometimes I like to have the skinnier ones on the outer edge. Really, this is just a personal preference. However, there is no specific order that these can be in. And once they are lined up, we need to go back to prepping for ironing, which is putting our towel down and making sure that it's ready for the iron. Now, I'm going to show you the ironing this time in real time. The one thing that you want to do is set the iron straight down onto your fabric. You don't want to iron back and forth because that jostles the glue around and then it won't get a good set. You want to leave it there for about 30 seconds. Again, this is on medium heat, no steam, and then move to the next one. And you continue this till you get all 3 of them ironed down. Now, when you are happy that they have had plenty of time to be ironed, the one thing that you've got to do is make sure you don't try testing them or checking them until they are completely cooled, because that can mess up your iron job, and we definitely don't want that. So you can be getting all your prep ready for the next things, getting your pom-poms, getting my glue, and I recommend the Gorilla Glue for my hot glue for attaching our attachments because it is so strong. And I will put a link in the description below if you want to order some on Amazon so that you know what kind of glue gun and what kind of glue stick. For my accessories, I'm using things that I already have, like these glitter balls. I always collect these when I'm at the Dollar Tree. If I see a new color that I don't have already, I grab it. And I just put them in Ziploc bags and I keep them. If you're making gnomes and a lot of different crafts, they are so handy to have. I've never used them in a jar. They're jar filler, and I've never once used them for that. I use them for all my projects, and I love them so much. So I get all the little palms and all the little glitter balls, and they work perfectly. Okay, now I've got my faux fur. I got a sheet of this. It's probably been a year, 2 years ago, and I am still using the same little pieces because I do so many different little tiny gnome crafts, and so I don't even know. I mean, this is not even going to be a penny's worth of faux fur for this pillow. So there's no way to even calculate how much it costs. But the one thing you want to do when you're cutting fur is make sure that you don't cut across the fur. You want to cut just the lining, but not the fur itself, because we want it to hang down for our beard. And then once you have 3 little beards cut, then I go along and again try to cut not the fur itself, but some of the lining, and I cut it in a circle so that you don't see any of those pointed edges. You want it to look like a real beard. So that's what we'll do here. And once I have 3 tiny little beards all trimmed up and looking fresh, I'm ready to move on to our next thing. So I'm going to get my Gorilla Glue hot glue, and I'm just going to dab a generous amount all the way across the bottom of the beard. And oh, look at me, it dripped a little bit. I'm going to have to clean that up with my cardboard here. See, I still make mistakes. And then I'll just glue those down so that they can have a time to cool. Now I'm going to get one of my glitter balls, and you can pick the color depending on what colors of fabric you're using. I'm going to use gold for the noses, and I'm going to actually use gold for the hands in this case, and I'll use pom-poms for the hat and for the feet. Now you could use pom-poms for all of these things, or you could use the glitter balls, like you can interchange things here. So I'm just going to, again, give a generous amount of glue and then glue my nose right down onto my gnome hat. And then I'm going to glue little hands along to the ends of my arms. You notice the middle one doesn't even have arms, but once I put these on, it won't matter. And that's the beauty of these gnomes. And I am just astounded at how fast and easy. I made my first one, and then I was like, ooh, I think I need another and another. I just can't quit. Now I just keep on thinking of people that I can give this. What a cute little gift to give, or, something for a family or friends or somebody who just needs a little happy something. So yeah, now that I have all the materials, I'm going to keep on making more and more and more of these fun gnomes. Okay, now I'm going to use some of my palms. Again, I got these little pom-pom things you can get them from the Dollar Tree, and if you can't find them there, every once in a while they're sold out. You can get those at Walmart or on Amazon. Okay, now that they're glued and they've had a chance to dry, we're ready to put them on with the pillow, and I'm going to show you how we're going to make this happen again with a no-sew. Now you can see how my gnomes are at an angle and they're centered in the middle of my white fabric. So once again, I'm going to get my pillow, and I'm going to have the words on the back because that's going to be very much lined with the way that I'm going to do these folds. I don't want that to show through. We're going to take the top corner of the pillow and just fold it down, and it's just like you're wrapping a present, sort of. We're going to do just particular folds and ties, and then this pillow will come together without having to sew one single stitch. Now, if you wanted to, you could sew those little pom-poms, hand stitch those on so that this could become washable, in which case you would not want to use the glitter nose because those styrofoam balls would definitely not be washable. So if you were to put those all on with a little hand stitched, then this could be washable. I have no intention of ever washing this, so I went ahead and used a glitter ball nose for my gnome. Now we want to make sure that the points of the pillow are kind of folded down, and do the same on the other. Now the tighter you get this, the better. You want it to look pretty tight. Now this white fabric, I used the fleece, but you could use any kind of fabric for this. That just happened to be the look that I'm going for in the fill. And the other thing I was going to mention before and I forgot, okay, I'll tell it in just a minute. You can fold this over. See, we're just doing folds, folds. It's kind of looking like a present. I forgot to mention that if you don't have fur beard, you could use some of this white fleece for the beard, and that would work as well. I can't believe I forgot to say that. Okay, once you have your points done, then you just tie this into a knot. Tie it once, make sure the points are in a good place, tie it again, and then once it's tied, you just tuck the little ears under, and look how pretty this pillow is. This is actually a really nice looking pillow in and of itself. So if I want this pillow on my couch when it's not Christmas time, I'll just turn it around to the white side. Okay, and there it is. There's my fancy gnome pillows. Now, one thing that you can do is get some hairspray and a toothbrush, and you can comb out the beard to give it a more polished look, so to speak. And I kind of like to give the beard a direction. Maybe they want to curl to the right or to the left or come straight down, whatever. It just makes them look a lot more professional. And sometimes the beard fabric, the fur fabric, has a bit of a crease in it, and that will just continue to be there. So again, that's why I use the hairspray. Okay, now here we look again at my Pottery Barn version. That was my inspiration, and here are my gnome pillows. And yes, I got a little crazy. Once I started making them, I had to just keep going, and I made 4, and I think I might make 4 more today, because now I already have, oh, let's see, so-and-so would like one, and so-and-so, and you know, I have all this extra fabric and all this extra supplies, so why not? It is so much fun to create gnomes. And now that I have this pattern and everything down, I think I might make one for every holiday. Well, there we go. Thank you so much for sticking with me. If you want to see more content like this, click on this video right here, or this one right here, and I will see you again soon. See ya!